So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about match betting and how something has changed which is going to radically affect the way that people can do match betting. It's been talked about before, but it's now being seriously rolled out, and it could jeopardize the future of the whole match betting industry. If you're interested in learning to use BetAngel, head on over to our website where you can download a free trial. If you're interested in learning how to use it, then head over to the BetAngel Academy where you can do exactly that. And if you want to talk to like-minded people, then head on over to our forum. So some of you watching this video will already know what match betting is all about. It's basically a process whereby you get good odds from somewhere around the internet, and then you take another position somewhere else. Typically, it could be backing or laying on an exchange, it could be doing any number of things, and you basically net the profit between the two. Big difference between match betting and Betfair trading is match betting is considered riskless. There is a tiny amount of risk involved within there, but when you're actively trading, you're looking to take risk. You've got the possibility of a loss, whereas with match betting you're trying to eliminate that altogether. But a serious problem has occurred, because I got a message recently from somebody who is a very profitable user of betting exchanges, and they basically said, do you know what this is? Because it's just popped up on my account. And it was the first time that I've actually seen it. I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it. So I thought it was worth doing this video to highlight to you exactly what's going on and whether it could affect you. So I got a message the other day from somebody, and they said, have you seen this? And I said to them, no, I have not seen that. And basically they'd gone into their account on Betfair, and then a page popped up, and it was prompting them to read the more information on this particular page. So when this message appears on the screen, you can basically go a little bit further along, and it basically comes up and says, we have set a limit for you. And in this particular case, the limit was £500. What is that limit, and exactly what does it mean? How does it work? We're going to examine that in a little bit more detail so that you can either be reassured or worried by what I'm about to tell you. But before we do that, it's worth appraising and trying to understand exactly how this situation actually came around. So let's quickly go over that so we can understand how we've arrived at this situation. So a lot of gambling companies have been coming under fire for encouraging problem gambling, and for a long period of time there were absolutely no limits to what you could do. I do believe that you should have the right to spend your money how you wish, although necessarily you do have to have some constraints in there somehow. But basically the problem is that the industry abused this particular freedom. I was looking for the right word to use there. And there were lots of stories coming out of people who had spent a lot of money gambling, had lost a lot of money, and were basically being encouraged to gamble even more. And one of the things that was floating around last year was that basically they were looking at that mix of where all of the problem gamblers were, and it turned out a lot of them were under 25 because they were spending more money than they could possibly earn or that they possibly could have. And what we're seeing now is an attempt to address that directly. So what happened with this particular customer is they were aged under 25, and it appears that anybody under the age of 25, this is going to be rolled out to. And what is actually being rolled out is effectively a deposit limit. Basically, you're only allowed to deposit a certain amount in your account each month. And on this particular situation, this customer has been assigned a limit of £500. Now, I hear you say, well, where does that £500 come from? I've no idea. It's completely arbitrary as far as I can see, because the customer that contacted me actually has a lifetime P&L of £40,000. They've made £40,000 from trading. But Betfair have slapped, for want of a better word on him, a £500 deposit limit. And what do we mean by that? Well, basically, if they deposit more than £500 in their account over the course of any one month, they will not be able to deposit any more money. Now, fortunately for this customer, because they're lifetime profitable and they already have a lot of money in their account, it really makes no difference to them, because the way that they run their account, because they're Betfair trading, is that they basically continue to be active on their account and then draw money out of their particular account. Where this becomes a lot more of a problem is if you're doing something like matched betting, you're doing any sort of arbitrage betting, or you're a traditional punter. Basically, once you have burnt through that £500 and you go and try to deposit more, maybe you've just been unlucky on one particular bet, or there was a mistake or something happened, then that's it for the month. You will no longer be able to do anything more. So it doesn't matter if you've gone off somewhere and you have a counter position that's up 600 but you're down 500 on Betfair. That's it. You will not be able to do any more betting activity in the month. And I actually think that's a bad thing, because if you look at the way that trading or punting works, then typically you are going to have a bad run at some point. Now when you're trading, it doesn't matter, because you never risk your entire money that's in your account. You're basically putting money in and money out, and you're going to make a small percentage of that stake that you use. But if you're doing a traditional punting or match betting, you are going to have a run that goes against you at some point during the month, and you will basically be stopped out of your account. And in the case of match betting, I have a term in terms of when you're doing arbitrage. You know, you need two accounts that you're basically going to put on one bet on one and one bet on the other. You win, you lose, you just can't choose. And that's the problem, is that you'll make money overall and the position is sound, but it may be that the position goes against you on the wrong account, and therefore you're going to get locked out. So if you want to increase that £500 to something a little bit more sensible, maybe 1,000 or 2,000, then basically you have to send a message to the compliance team at Betfair. And over the last year, there's a wonderful thread on our forum which shows the interaction of people with the compliance department, and it's not great. Basically, they're asking for proof of earnings, they're asking for your P60, they're asking for all sorts of information, bank statements and all of that sort of stuff, which you had to give to them for them to do something with. But the problem is, lots of people don't want to give all of that information. A lot of people feel it's unnecessary, and when the compliance department do get it, basically it's not getting processed very, very quickly. Take, for example, the customer that's I'm mentioning within this particular video. The compliance team were basically saying, well, you won it gambling, you could lose it gambling, and therefore, you know, that money is sort of dead money effectively. We're not going to put that as a contribution to your earnings with respect to adjusting this limit on your account. So yeah, even if you are very successful at what you do, that's not going to wash with the compliance department in terms of getting that limit raised. So what do I think about this? Well, I think people should be free to do whatever they want to. Now, there has to be some sort of a limit. You can't let people do whatever they want to. And I understand that there is a need to protect people who are vulnerable, but I think doing it this way is very arbitrary and doesn't really work, does it? Especially when you consider people with lifetime accounts significantly in profit and with large balances. Why impose the same limit on them as somebody that obviously cannot afford it and has been losing money over a long period of time? It doesn't really make any sense. I think it needs some amendment and some, I don't think it's too arbitrary, basically. But also think about it. You can speculate wildly on NFTs, cryptocurrencies, on the stock market. You could go to the betting ring and slap a few grand down with a bookmaker. No checks, no balances, nothing in place there. So I think that it's self-defeating. It doesn't solve the problem. And I think all it does is push the problem somewhere else. And if you're going to have this sort of approach, then it needs to encompass everything. And also, different sports aren't the same as a casino or a card game. It's too arbitrary, in my opinion. And I understand the need to protect people, but I just don't think that this is the way to do it. So let's examine where we're at here. Basically, if you're aged 25 or under, Betfair will impose a deposit limit on your account. But the net effect of a deposit limit is basically you can only deposit into your account that amount per month. Now, there is a positive to this. If you win and you withdraw money, then that deposit limit goes up over the course of that month. But if you attempt to deposit more money, then that limit obviously starts to decrease. So effectively, if you win more and you're able to withdraw cash, really the deposit limit isn't an issue. So for Betfair trading, it's not really a problem, because over the course of the month you should be up. They're going to limit the amount that you can deposit, but I've done a video before where I've shown how you can grow a very small bank to a much, much bigger amount. And if you have cash in your account already and you don't withdraw it, then you're going to be able to use that cash anyway. So really, I think for most Betfair trading scenarios, that's not really a major problem. When you're starting out, you're going to have to gradually build your balance up to a much bigger amount, which could be a bit of an issue. That may slow you down, but not seriously. The main issue comes when you're doing arbitrage or you're doing match betting or something. The problem that you're going to have is that you know, if you drain that account, then you will no longer be able to use it. You're going to have to wait until the next month in order to be able to get that deposit limit back again. It's either that or you go through the hell of compliance to try and get it raised, which is probably going to be a complete waste of time. But you never know. It's probably worth a shot. But I think the main consequences will be that people who have very highly variable strategies, which is match bettors and traditional punters, could find themselves locked out of their account until the first of the following month, when they can start to deposit more money again. For traditional Betfair traders, shouldn't really be an issue. And I think for 90% of people, no, I've just made that number off the top of my head, I would think nearly all Betfair traders with sensible strategies that don't have massively variable returns should be okay as well. And certainly in the case of the person that contacted me, they're not really going to have an issue because they've got enough money in their account. They don't need to deposit any, and in fact it usually flows the other way. They tend to be withdrawing most of the time. But yeah, I think the consequences for things like match betting will be significant. And also, a lot of match betting is done by younger people because it's a great way for people to supplement their income, get themselves up to that first rung of the ladder, but also maybe if you're at uni or something, it's a good way of earning a little bit of income on the side. But I think the consequences for that sort of activity are probably going to be much more severe than they are for things like Betfair trading. Anyhow, that happened this week. I thought it was interesting. I thought you should alert you to that, but I'll be keeping an eye on it and letting you know if there's anything else from there. How will it affect you? Is it going to affect you badly or not? What are your views on that? Give me a comment and so on, and share your thoughts with the rest of this community. Anyhow, I hope that video has been useful for you.